like Sonic, he doesn't chuckle, it's our fighting freak Knuckles. Or as some kids used to call him, the Red Sonic. Knuckles has had a rather interesting characterization throughout the franchise, and with his inclusion in the second Sonic movie, I think we should brush up on his origin. Welcome to Origin Oracle, my children, the segment where I do a deep dive on the origins of video game characters. If you like this type of content, give that like button a nice homing attack. It truly goes a long way for the channel. Without further ado, let's dive into the lore of Knuckles the Echidna. Knuckles' first appearance was the moment where he punched the shit out of Super Sonic and stole all the Chaos Emeralds after Sonic and Tails pulled up to Angel Island. Funny enough, this seems to be how the two meet in Sonic Movie 2, a punch to the face. Anyway, this moment in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 actually has some backstory to it, with Knuckles being the sole protector of the floating island, Angel Island. His main purpose is to protect the Master Emerald housed within, an all-powerful jewel that is capable of unspeakable power and can keep the Chaos Emeralds in check. This duty was passed along to Knuckles by his ancestors, who in the past pissed off ancient gods and got annihilated in the process. So more on this in my Sonic timeline, you should go check that out. We love talking about ancient gods in Sonic lore. You don't fuck with ancient gods. Anyway, the surviving members of the clan ended up on the floating island, taking on the duty to protect the Master Emerald, rather than using it for their selfish reasons. The last member of that clan is lonely old Knuckles here.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
So based on the Japanese manual for Sonic 3, Knuckles was just chillin' peacefully on Angel Island, until the Death Egg from Sonic 2 came barreling down, crashing into the island and ruining Knuckles' weekend. He goes flying out of the shrine where one of the Chaos Emeralds was stored, while the island descends down to the earth after the impact. Knuckles rushes back to the shrine to find the Chaos Emeralds are gone, and can only run around helplessly as the gems he was tasked to protect go missing. He eventually meets Dr. Eggman, who tricks him into believing that Sonic was on the island to steal the emeralds. And that, my friends, is how we get to this moment in particular. Interesting, right? As a side note, there's no concrete explanation as to why the Chaos Emeralds are on Angel Island, while the Death Egg is crashing, because in that moment, canonically, Sonic should be using them to transform into Super Sonic to escape safely from the explosion from space. There's a lot of retconning going on in the games at the time when it comes to the location of the Chaos Emeralds, and you can argue there's multiple sets, but I think there's no concrete answer here. Before I continue, I think, like we did with Amy, we should discuss Knuckles' conception. Sonic Team knew from the beginning that they were going to be adding a new character to the Sonic franchise, while planning Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The series is already a major hit at this point, so it would work wonders for marketing with a brand new character. Character design was decided by an internal competition among the development team, with Takashi Yuda winning this battle to the death with a green Echidna design. The original intention was to make him another friend of Sonic's, but the team wanted to be a little edgy and make him a rival instead, and give him the role of being an additional obstacle, even though Dr. Eggman would still serve as the major antagonist. Eventually they changed him from green to red, which served as a better contrast to Sonic and Tails' blue and yellow colors respectively. They'd also focus his abilities on strength, a respectable counter to Sonic's super speed. His appearance had the iconic dreadlocks, with Sonic Team initially hoping to give him a Jamaican accent instead. And I really envy the universe that got that version of Knuckles. I mean, come on, yo.
Tap your bumbo clot ballin' brethren, you big man, act like a big man.
So Sonic Team had a solid rival to Sonic with Knuckles, and would go on to implement him into the two-part third game of the series, Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, developing the lock-on cartridge technology that even gave players the ability to play as him in Sonic 2. It wasn't until the Hidden Palace Zone level in Sonic & Knuckles until the Red Echidna realized his huge mistake in trying to deter Sonic, as Dr. Eggman was the mastermind behind all the mishaps on Angel Island. With that, a mutual respect between him and Sonic is formed as they work together to end the Doctor once and for all. Until he comes back in the next game, of course.
Knuckles!
We'd see Knuckles again in the Sonic Adventure series, still true to his duty to protect the Master Emerald, as an ancient god known as Chaos that was sealed inside is released by Eggman. This caused Angel Island to fall again, triggering the events of Sonic Adventure as each character gets wrapped up somehow in Eggman and Chaos' villainy. Knuckles is given the ability to sense the pieces of the Master Emerald, and spends a majority of the game attempting to put the pieces back together. It's revealed in this game that the same ancient god that his clan pissed off way back in the past was indeed Chaos, which ties Sonic Adventure back to some of the lore earlier established in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But ever since the end of Sonic Adventure series and some mentions in the Sonic Advance series, Knuckles' duty to protect the Master Emerald is not exactly mentioned. In fact, it's rare to see the Master Emerald or Angel Island mentioned at all. Its last canon appearance, I'd say, is probably Sonic Advance 3, which was released all the way back in 2004. And you could argue that the last major appearance was Sonic Rivals 2, released in 2009, a series that I rarely talk about, so maybe someday. But anyway, it's fair to say that Sonic Team couldn't care less about Knuckles' duty at this point, but hopefully we'll start to see some mention of this in Sonic Frontiers, with Ian Flynn leading the writing effort. But Mentok, what about Knuckles' origin in other publications? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So let's start with the Archie comics. I'll start by saying our boy Ken Penders loves the lore of the Knuckles clan, but I'll keep focus as much as possible on Knuckles himself. He's introduced in issue 13, where the storyline is based around the events of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Unlike the games, Dr. Robotnik discovers Angel Island due to the energy of the Chaos Emerald being emitted, and he travels to get the emerald for himself. With Sonic and Tails in hot pursuit, they run into Knuckles when they arrive on the island, and he attempts to stop them from advancing, already being tricked by the cunning doctor. So as I mentioned before, the Archie comics majorly deviates from the lore of the game, and gives Knuckles' history a much deeper backstory. In the comics, Knuckles grows up on Angel Island with his father, but still lives a rather secluded lifestyle. His father suddenly disappears before him one day in a wall of fire, which leaves him no choice but to take up the role as guardian of the island at a young age. You would later meet a character named Archimedes, a fire ant who Knuckles looks up to as he files into his duty as guardian. Eventually, Knuckles discovers Dimitri, one of his ancestors who was sealed off for ages, and this drove him to villainy. Also known as Enerjack, he would serve as one of the more popular antagonists outside of Eggman in the Archie comics. After Enerjack's reappearance, Knuckles begins to discover more of his kind, including a group known as the Dark Legion, a separate group of Echidnas that left the original clan many years before. To take this a step further, Knuckles would actually find out that the entire Echidna civilization was still alive in an alternate dimension. So you have to wonder if the Sonic movie plans to take inspiration from this. Ken Penders, the writer of the Archie comics at the time, created a separate Knuckles the Echidna comic, detailing more backstory with the Knuckles clan, even including a character that served as Knuckles' long-term love interest, Julie Sue. Julie Sue is originally from the Dark Legion, but defects due to her love for Knuckles, and toward the end of the comic's run, they start an official relationship, even in one possible future having a child together named Lara Sue. And if I start to talk about this any further, I'd probably get into the whole legal dispute between Ken Penders and Sega that took place, and maybe this isn't the video for it, but most of this lore was reset by the Super Genesis wave at the end of the Worlds Collide arc, which is a catastrophic event that was used to retcon a lot of the original Archie continuity. After this event, Knuckles would revert to being a tad closer to his game counterpart, and all legal issues aside, I do think that exploring the Echidna clans a little further in the video games themselves would make for interesting character development for Knuckles, but I don't see that happening again anytime soon. Next up is the Fleetway publication, Sonic the Comic, which also introduces Knuckles pretty much the same way as he's introduced in the games. The Death Egg crashes onto Angel Island just like it does in Sonic 3, with Robotnik tricking Knuckles to believe that Sonic is after the Chaos Emeralds housed on the island. So of course, when Sonic and Tails arrive, they get to scrapping, which gives Robotnik the opportunity to steal the set of 6 Chaos Emeralds that are hiding on the island. It's important to note here that the comic specifies there are multiple sets of Chaos Emeralds across their world, so with that in mind, Robotnik merges 2 sets of Chaos Emeralds, restoring them to their original state after being separated millennia before. This is when Knuckles realizes he's being tricked, and whips out a gray Chaos Emerald of his own to neutralize the power of the set that Robotnik has, and in turn manages to cast him off the island. This does lead to Robotnik returning again to try to steal the Master Emerald, which causes a chaotic situation for Knuckles, who has to defend the island from Robotnik and his robots, as well as a crazy Super Sonic who transformed from the energy of the Master Emerald. If you're confused as to why Sonic would even look like this, check out my What is Super Sonic video for some more details on that, because that form is bonkers. So soon after this, Sonic and Knuckles team up and successfully take down Robotnik, which cements his place as a major character in the comic's lore. At this point, he would continuously get wrapped up in Sonic's efforts to thwart Dr. Robotnik's plans. Very similarly to the Archie comics, Knuckles would also find out that he's not the last of his race to survive, meeting an Echidna scientist, Dr. Zachary, who would turn on Knuckles to destroy the Master Emerald, forcing Knuckles to find a new emerald to replace it. This leads to his next character arc of trying to discover the fate of his clan, meeting a pirate known as Captain Plunder, who promises to give him a chest filled with information on his people in return for helping him. While the captain holds up his end of the bargain, Knuckles is left stranded on a remote part of Mobius, where he has to try his best to return home. And when he finally does, he's involved in one more fight with Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Zachary. This version of Knuckles has it pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. It's like he never catches a break. But if you're curious as to what happened to his clan, Nigel Kitching, the main writer of the comic, didn't get much of a chance to wrap this up before it finally ended. The last arc of the comic series was based around Sonic Adventure, but it took some liberties on Knuckles' past. He apparently lived thousands of years before and had been attacked by an evil empire known as the Draken Empire. Nigel stated if the series continued, he planned to reveal that the Drakons caused the end of the Echidna clan, and the remaining survivors were scattered across the galaxy, suffering enslavement on different planets. It's actually really interesting to see each publication's take on the fate of Knuckles' people, because outside of Sonic 3 and Sonic Adventure, Sega hasn't really given us much detail about the tribe. Though I do think Sonic Adventure does a decent job on telling their story. But enough about the comics, let's move on to some animation.
Well, look at you! Look at you!
So normally I'd talk about the original Western Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, also known as Sadam, but Knuckles never ended up making an appearance in that show, or the more comical series Adventures of the Sonic the Hedgehog. His first appearance in an animation would be the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, also known as Sonic the Movie in the West, which was produced under the supervision of Sonic Team at the time. It takes place in a totally separate continuity, with the plot being split into two parts, where Sonic is taking on Dr. Eggman and Metal Sonic respectively. Not much is said about Knuckles when he makes an appearance in this world, but he isn't a guardian of the Master Emerald like in the games. In fact, there's no mention of the Emeralds or Angel Island in this movie. He's simply a treasure hunter who's already familiar with Sonic and Tails, and helps them in their fight when he stumbles upon them during the plot. The rivalry between him and Sonic is also less of a highlight here, as they seem to get along pretty well in this movie, but there's not much more to his backstory either. But he's definitely a welcome entry into this movie, because he helps tie up a few plot lines. If you want to see a deeper dive into this awesome OVA, go ahead and check my video out on this as well. Then there's Sonic Underground, a cartoon that ran in 1999 in the West. It had Sonic and his siblings Sonia and Manic as the main cast, and it surrounded their search for their mother Queen Alina, who was ousted from her throne by Dr. Robotnik, who on the flip side is trying to find them and eliminate them so a prophecy of his defeat will not come to pass. He eventually employs the assistance of Knuckles, tricking him so he would help him with his nefarious deeds. In this series, Knuckles is the guardian of Angel Island and the Chaos Emerald that's housed within. And soon enough, Knuckles realizes that Dr. Robotnik was after the Emerald the whole time, joining Sonic's side to defeat him and force him off the island, permanently becoming their ally. Interestingly enough, Knuckles has a great-grandfather named Altair in Sonic Underground, who he reaches out to for guidance and advice, but not much else is known about his lineage. So while some story elements from the games are used, this cartoon is pretty different from the main Sonic continuity as well. Then in 2003, the anime Sonic X was released, which is the animation with the closest plot to the game continuity in comparison to the rest of Sonic media at the time. While there's no backstory given regarding Knuckles aside from what we already know from the games, I wanted to give the anime props for emphasizing Knuckles' role as a guardian of the Master Emerald. In the final season of the series, he steps up continuously, using the power of the Master Emerald to assist the cast in their search for the Chaos Emeralds, and he's also a major offensive force with their fight against the Metarex, an alien species that seeks to use the Chaos Emerald for their own gain. And then finally we have Sonic Boom, which I rarely discuss since this doesn't have much of a plot in the first place. The show is a spin-off of a couple of games that went by the same name, but this is more of a comedic slice-of-life take on the Sonic cast in a separate continuity. Knuckles received a major redesign for the Sonic Boom universe, which led to more than its fair share of memes.
Meme! Approved!
They made him a lot buffer, and personality-wise, he lost whatever intellect he had left, turning him into the comic relief of the series in most situations.
Capable is my middle name.
I thought your middle name was The.
Now before I go further, I recommend anyone that wants a lighthearted take on the Sonic cast to watch this show. The writing is pretty clever at the end of the day, and most Sonic fans actually really enjoy this show for what it is. I felt the need to put Sonic Boom in this video to acknowledge the huge departure from Knuckles' original character that was put in this show. And while it has its place, I'm pretty relieved that we're not seeing this in the second Sonic movie. Speaking of which, at the recording of this video, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has not been released, but he's now being played by Idris Elba, and will be taking on Sonic for what I surmise is the same reasons as the original games, being tricked by Eggman in some form or fashion. I have a few questions regarding where Eggman found him, and assuming it's on the mushroom planet he's exiled to at the end of the first movie, I want to know who these Echidnas are that were originally after Sonic's power when he escapes his own world. Funny enough, in that trailer, Sonic says to Knuckles, "I'm not letting you have my power," which I think is a response to him recognizing his clan. And Knuckles' response is, "Do I look like I need your power?" Which makes me wonder if he's special in his own right, as his palms seem to glow red, similarly to how Sonic glows blue when he taps into his speed. Anyway, I'm excited to see where they take this movie, and I may certainly do a part 2 of this video to cover Knuckles' origin established in the movie lore. So there you have it everyone, a quick look at the origin of Knuckles, or the many versions of him at least. Leave a comment below on your favorite version of him or a character whose origin you want me to cover next. Or just leave a comment for the algorithm, it doesn't matter. And I want to give a big shout out to Sonic Retro that compiles all this information in the first place. If you want to know more about these characters, go ahead and check out that website. It has a ton of information for this type of thing. As always, my children, be safe. The Prophet has spoken.